Hey everyone, what's going on? Greg here again from Team Blast. So every time I onboard a new local SEO client, I always ask if seasonality is a factor for their business. For one of my clients, that is the case. They're an HVAC company in Colorado, and I can tell that we're in November. More people are going to be looking for furnace repair compared to AC installation, just because obviously the weather is much colder. So I'm going to walk you through my thought process and what I do for my clients that have seasonality. So to start, I did a generic search, weather, historic patterns. I can see that in November, obviously the weather's going to get much colder. That makes sense. When I look at Google Trends now around furnace repair, I can tell that in the past actually 5 years, this is the most interest now when it comes to furnace repair. Obviously, some winters are going to be colder than others, but for the most part, this is when the peak is going to happen. This is where my clients can get the most phone calls now for furniture repair. Therefore, we need to be ranking at the top. And then finally, this is just a generic United States search within SEMRush, but I can tell the trend. Here we are now again in November. This is the peak. This is where you want to really rank. So every time I onboard a new client and we're looking at different seasonality patterns for their business, I'm going to focus heavily on AC keywords when it's the weather is going to be the hottest. And I'm going to flip that to really focus on furnace repair in the winter because I can tell that's when the demand is going to happen. So to start, before I go into my thought process and their numbers, let's just all get on the same page. So if you search for furnace repair on your computer or on your phone, Google displays 3 organic map pack listings. That's the share of local voice. That's the map pack. That's where every business wants to be. You want to be in these top 3 because on a computer, you can click on website. On your phone, though, you can actually click on the phone icon to call the company. Again, that's where you want to be. Here is one of their heat map scans for their business. This is a 15-mile radius 11 by 11 grid. So the bottom left quadrant, those are dots 1, 2, and 3. That means if you were searching for a furnace repair in those areas, you would then find my client that is in that top 3. Again, that's what's going to get the most phone calls. Anything that's not, however, in dots 1 through 3, only can show up on Google Map search. So if you ever, again, using your app on your phone, you use Google Map search for furniture repair, you get all the listings there. Now, obviously, this is a problem because if you look at this heat map over here, if you're position 14, that means you have 13 other companies that are ahead of you within Google Map search. So most likely people call only the first couple listings. They try to get a price, availability, and that's really kind of it. You're not going to call 13 other companies to get that same information. You're probably going to call maybe a couple. And then if someone says, yep, I can come today to do furnace repair, that's who you're going to go with. So you really want to be in dots 1, 2, and 3. That is the key. So here's the keyword furnace repair. My client is the blue line at the very bottom. I've been tracking this keyword since the summer in August. I talked to my client about this and said, okay, we know historically the weather's going to change in November. Therefore, we need to start tracking this keyword to get the baseline metric in August. And then I'm going to flip the account. I'm going to really heavily focus on heating. So furnace repair. Now you can see we've grown 19 percentage points. We're at 20.66. That is great for what we're doing. Here's how the heat map has changed for them. So again, on the left-hand side, that's August. On the right side now, that's November. Again, that bottom left quadrant, it's starting to flip. And we went from 1% or so, page 1 rankings, now 20% for the keyword furnace repair. Here's another keyword too. Furnace repair service, same thing. I've been tracking this keyword since the summer, had the same conversation with my client. Now we had the peak. We grew about 10 percentage points for there. There's other keywords too. It's really the same story. So furnace repair company, furnace repair near me. It's the same strategy. Keywords are growing at the right time. The map is starting to change. So tips to rank better on Google. I talk about this a lot. I use Local Falcon to get the baseline scan with my client. So again, I'm not in Colorado, I'm in New York. So I have to use a third-party tool to run the heat map scan and know exactly how they're ranking in a 15-mile radius for their keyword. Next, I stay up to date on the weather, Google Trends, and SEMRush. So I talked to my client too. Like they told me that obviously, heating projects are going to really peak in the winter, makes the most sense. But it's the same thought process though with all of my clients. The ones especially I onboard, I will actually share and say if we're going after heating keywords, we know the demand's not going to really happen until about November and December. So if we're ranking really good in August or in July, that's great for a ranking to report, but we're not going to get the demand and the leads until it gets colder. Next, review the competitor list. Look for gaps. So gaps are things like number of reviews, local area code numbers. There's so much when it comes to gap analysis. I talk about this all the time in all my other videos. Next, I look at competitors. So I'm always looking for any keyword stuffing, virtual offices, PO boxes, duplicate listings. If there are, I'm going to suggest them then to Google. Next, making changes to their Google business profile account. So adding photos, services, descriptions, products, questions and answers, and even uploading photos too. We talk about reviews. Reviews do matter on Google, but it's the recency factor that is key. So you want to keep getting reviews and obviously respond to them. Bonus tip, get reviews outside of Google. So don't just only get reviews on Google. I talk to my clients all the time. Get reviews on Yelp, Facebook, get reviews on trustindex.io or Trustpilot. Anything to get a secondary site to talk about your business is going to be really key. ChatGPT and other sources use additional reviews. Even Apple Maps uses Yelp instead of Google reviews. So really focus on third-party sites. Next, create landing pages on your website to go after, again, furnace repair, furnace service, furnace installation. Have those pages and have them with local schema markup. So show your location, highlight that to Google and Bing, and then finally keep running more and more local Falcon scans, because ultimately you want to see something like this where you go from about a 1% share of page one to now 20%. Again, I'm going to keep growing this for my client. We're going to get more and more leads for their business. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and as always, have a good rest of your day.